on. Come on. Hey, Awake Night. This is one of my favorite nights of the year, Halloween versus Christmas, and I'm trying to decide who won, either Christmas or Halloween. Do you guys think Christmas? I think Christmas demolished. Scream at me if you think Christmas won. Yeah, Christmas did good here. So good job to Christmas. You guys are awesome. You guys look awesome. Well, if we haven't met, my name is Caitlin, and I get the privilege to just serve alongside our Awake team. And I'm so excited to be here with you tonight talking about something. And this something is called anger. Do you guys ever feel angry? You know, can I tell you a story when I have felt angry? Can I? I can't hear you. Can I tell you a story? Oh, okay, I hear you. Gosh. So, I drive through the McDonald's parking lot, right? And I'm going to the drive-thru, and because I'm really feeling an Oreo McFlurry, right? Do you guys like Oreo McFlurries from McDonald's? I don't know. There's something about it, and I think it's the cheeseburger grease that maybe ends up in there that makes it better. I don't understand, but there's something about a McFlurry from McDonald's. So I'm going through the drive-thru, right? And I'm just like, yeah, can I have a McFlurry and Oreo McFlurry? And the lady, this is, quote, what the lady says. Are you ready? I'm sorry. Our machine is currently out of order. You're out of order? You were out of order a week ago, man. Get your guy. Oh, I drove out of there, and I was ticked. Okay. Another time, I remember just being so angry. So, do we have any high schoolers in the room? We have quite a few. Raise your hand if you're a high schooler. Okay, you guys soon will be in English, and soon should be talking about Romeo and Juliet, right? So we read the book, we watch the movie, and I'm like, dude, the test that we're going to have on Romeo and Juliet, I'm going to get an A on this thing. Because, I was actually this is the first time in English class I was actually paying attention. I actually didn't mind the movie, and I didn't mind reading the book. So at the end, the teacher's like, yeah, we're going to have a test. And she's like, make sure you guys study. And I'm like, psh, I don't need to study. I know what I'm doing. So the next day we have the test. And I'm taking the test, and in my head, I'm thinking the whole time, dude, I'm going to get an A on this thing. This is my first ever A I'm going to get on an English test. This is going to be awesome. So the next day, she grades them, and this is exactly what the teacher says. She's like, most of us in the room did really well. Other of us in the room, I'm very disappointed in. And I'm like, losers. She gives me my paper. Guys, I got a D-. I wanted to cry. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the one thing I actually paid attention to this year. You gotta be kidding me. And I got a D, and I was ticked the whole day. One more. Any drivers in the room, you should understand. I'm a fellow Iowan, born and raised here. But I swear, sometimes people in Iowa don't know how to drive. The left lane is the fast lane. Do we agree? Okay, the right lane is the slow lane. When I'm driving and I'm going to the left lane, there shouldn't be a guy going 10 miles an hour in front of me when I'm trying to pass him. He should be in the right lane. And I get really, really angry when they're in the left lane. So these are things in my life, basically on the daily, except the Romeo and Juliet situation, that I get a little angry about. Now, these are things that are maybe a little more lighter, things that maybe are like, oh, these are kind of funny angry, we can call them. But what about when we go a little heavier? What about when we go to things that might actually affect us a lot more than just a D on a paper? What if we get into things like, what if your friend that you thought was your friend goes behind your back and starts gossiping about you or spreading rumors about you, and you're like, are you kidding me? I thought we were best friends. Okay, what about this? What if you get in a huge fight with your family or with your sibling, and you're like, it's huge, and you're just so angry at your sibling, you're like, dude, don't even talk to me. Don't even talk to me. You're just so angry. Okay, what about this? What about there's that person every time you go into school, there's that person who always is like talking about your outfit, talking about your hair, talking about your shoes, and you're like, where do you get your shoes? I'm like, they're nice shoes, but they make fun of you. It's an everyday thing. And these are things that make us angry. These are things that maybe we hold on to, grudges that we may eventually have on people. So today I want to talk to anger and how maybe anger truly does affect our heart. Because I feel like some of the times we may have hold grudges on people, and you just let them stay there. You don't resolve your anger. So today we're going to talk about two people in the Bible. They're brothers. So if your siblings in the room, you're like, oh no. So their names are Jacob and Esau. Raise your hand if you're the older sibling in the room. Okay, you're going to pretend you're Esau. Ladies, sorry, you're Esau for tonight, okay? Esau. Remember, older brother, Esau. How about younger siblings? Who's the younger siblings in the room? Okay, you're Jacob in the story. Okay, sorry if you're a middle child and I'm an only child. You're important too, okay? You're just, currently, this is a sibling rivalry between an older and younger, okay? You get something out of this too, I promise. But yeah, we're talking about Jacob, the younger brother, and Esau, the older brother. And can I tell you, the Bible is so comical. Did you know Esau, when he was a baby, he popped out hairy? Like, have you ever seen a hairy baby? Like, I'm talking about bush hairy. Like, his arms as a baby. Imagine seeing a bush hairy baby. I'd be like, I'm scared. But Jacob, the younger sibling, he was smooth. That's what a baby should look like. I mean, if you have a hairy baby, that's cool. But Esau, I think, was crazy hairy. So keep that in mind. Esau, the older brother, was hairy. You just need to keep that in mind. So Jacob and Esau, these siblings, have kind of gone their whole life just, being together. You know that the sibling love where it's like, ooh, I don't like you one day, but I do love you like one day. But I don't know that because I'm not, but I read it in the Bible. So that's what it looks like, okay? So when Jacob and Esau, they're getting older, and one day Esau goes out for a hunt. Do we have any hunters? Like, deer season's coming? Yeah, deer season's coming. Esau's a hunter. This man's hunting deer, okay? So he's out hunting deer, and Jacob, the younger sibling, he's cooking at home. Imagine this man with his pot. He's cooking at home. He's like, I got the stew. This is good stew, okay? Jacob's cooking at home, and Esau's out hunting. Esau comes back from his hunt, right? And he's like, Jacob, I'm hungry. I need some food now. Like, dude, I mean now. And you know what Jacob says? He's like, fine, I'll give you some soup. I'll give you some soup in this little bowl, but you have to sell me your birthright. Excuse me? So guess what Esau does? He says, okay. Esau gets this little soup, and guess what? I think I have it. He trades it for cows, basically. He's like, you take all my cows. You can take all my livestock. You can take all my land. So that's all Jacob's now, which was meant to be for Esau. But now Esau's like, no, I'm so hungry. I just want this little soup in the moment. Isn't that crazy? So then after Esau trades this trade with his brother, he says, I hate my birthright. I hate I hate those cows. He's like, I hate my birthright. So this was the first encounterment that we see from Esau and Jacob, and Esau had his first bitter heart. Now, when we continue on, we find out that their father Isaac, his name's Isaac, and his father's getting really old. Have you ever seen an old person and they look at you like this? That's Isaac, their dad. And this man is so old and he can barely see. And he tells the older son, Esau, he's like, Esau, can you go hunt me some deer? We'll say it's deer. And cook me some stew, and I'll give you your blessing. I'll bless you when you do this. And Esau's like, yeah, you can bless me. I'll do that. So Esau goes and hunts, right? And so Jacob and his mom are overhearing this conversation. So Jacob's mom's like, hey, I'll cook the soup. Your dad, he loves the soup I make for him. So I'm going to cook the soup. You're going to pretend you're Esau. Your dad can't see anything. So you're going to pretend you're Esau, and you're going to steal Esau's blessing. And Jacob's like, all right. One thing, Mom, I'm not hairy like my brother. I'm smooth. Imagine having that conversation with your mom. Like, Mom, my brother's smooth. My brother's hairy. I'm smooth. So guess what? The mom gives him some animal fur, and literally Jacob's wrapping his arms in animal fur. Imagine being that hairy. That's perspective. He's that hairy, sorry. But, so Jacob wraps himself in this animal fur, pretending to be Esau. He brings his dad the soup, and he's like, here, Dad, here's the soup. And Isaac's like, is that Jacob? And he's like, no, it's Esau. And he's like, but you sound like Jacob. And the dad's like, let me feel your arm. So he feels Jacob's arm. And it's hairy. And he's like, you sound like Jacob, but your arm feels like Esau. So the dad ends up blessing Jacob, what was meant to be Esau's. So Esau comes back, and he hunted, he made the stew, and he comes back, and he's like, Dad, I got the stew. And Isaac, the dad's like, who are you? And Esau's like, it's me. You told me to make you soup, and you would bless me. And Isaac's like, I gave your blessing away. And as soon as Isaac, his dad, said that, Esau just starts bawling. He's like, you need to give me my blessing. I went out and hunted. I made you the soup. Where's my blessing? So he's like, please bless me. And so his dad, this is what he says. This is Esau's blessing. In Genesis 27:39, it says, you will live away from the richness of the earth and away from the dew of the heaven above. You will live by your sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you decide to break free, you shall shake his yoke from your neck. You see, we eventually see, too, it says that Esau hated his brother. After his dad said this, he's like, now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching, and then I will kill my brother Jacob. Esau hated his brother after this. Like, he hated him so much, he wanted to kill him. Like, that seems like, oh, that took a turn real quick. Like, this feels like I'm on a reality TV show. I'm like, whoa, girl, calm down. Like, take a chill pill. But man, Esau was so angry and hated his brother so much that he wanted to kill him. So how do we let anger affect our hearts this much that Esau literally said he wanted to kill him? So we're going to talk about, what does anger do to your heart? Because what do we see that anger did to Esau's heart? And number one, anger makes us selfish. Esau sold his birthright. Remember the stew? When he came back, he was so hungry and he got the stew, and he sold his livestock to his brother. He was so selfish about what he needed right now in this moment that he would leave everything that he had and give it up for what he wanted. Anger makes us selfish. It makes us always point the finger at me. What do I want? What do I need? And number two, anger blinds the goodness of God in our lives. Anger almost makes us forget that God is doing anything in our lives. Anger makes us feel like, oh, that happened bad to me. That situation happened bad to me. This is bad to me. Anger blinds anything that God is trying to do good in our life or anything that happened good in our life, and it blinds us to only seeing the bad in our life. And that's what happened to Esau, because not only did Esau see bad in his life because of his circumstances, but he eventually goes out of the goodness of God in general. He ends up walking away from his family, walking away from God, and eventually ends up marrying a woman who his family and God was like, this was not who we wanted you to marry. So he eventually walks away from God. That is what anger does. And number three, anger hardens your heart. You see, Esau's heart was so hard that he said, I'm going to kill my brother. I hate my brother. Do you have a hard heart for someone? And that's what I really want to get into. Is there someone in your life where you're just like, I can't stand this person. Whenever I see them, I'm like, oh, I just don't like this person. You see, when I was in high school, there was this girl who every day I felt like she had something bad to say about me. Every day. She'd be like, what'd you do with your hair? I'm like, I cut it. And she was like, I don't like it. And would walk away. What are you wearing? I'm like, clothes? I do not like your clothes. And like every single day. And I remember I was like, I don't like her. She's so mean. I don't like this girl. So this was years ago, and I ended up graduating, and I ended up forgetting about it all until 2 weeks ago. Guys, I saw the girl who did this to me at Walmart, and you know what my instant reaction was when I saw her? I went, ooh. I'm like, her? And as soon as I did that, I caught myself. I'm like, this has been years ago. I mean, this has been years. I mean, that's a long, 365 days, more than that. That's a lot of days that my heart was still bitter towards her, that my heart was like, I don't like her. Why was I still holding on to this bitterness? Why was I still holding on to this anger even after time? And then this is the same thing with Jacob and Esau. You see, Jacob ends up running away, and it's been 14 years, a ton of time, since Jacob and Esau have seen each other. And we see that Jacob has a wife, he has kids. I mean, it's been that long since Jacob and Esau have seen each other. The last thing that Jacob knows of his brother is that his brother wants to kill him. So Jacob has a wife, he has kids, and they're living their own life, they're having a good time. And the same thing with Esau. He's living his own life, he's having a good time, has his kids, have his wife. And eventually, a messenger comes to Jacob, and then the messenger's like, your brother wants to meet with you. Did you hear me? Your brother wants to meet with you. Yeah, the one who killed you. And I bet Esau's like, wait, are you talking about, Jacob's like, you're talking about the right Esau? Are you talking about my brother Esau, the guy who wants to kill me? And he's like, yeah, your brother Esau. I bet Jacob's like, are we talking about the right Esau? I mean, this guy wants to kill me, and he wants to meet up with me. I bet Jacob is so scared in this moment. But what would you do? I mean, what do you do in the situations where you see the person you don't like? What's your instant reaction? What do you do? What does your heart feel? Do you react? Do you feel nervous? Do you try to ignore it? Do you run away? I mean, what do you do when you know a person that you don't like? What are you thinking inside? And this is where we're getting into Jacob. So we're going to read Genesis 33, and this is where Jacob meets Esau. Is everyone awake? Okay. Because this is intense. This part's intense. So remember the guy who wanted to kill him? Yeah, they're going to meet up, okay? So Jacob lifted up his eyes, and look, and behold, Esau was coming with 400 men. You're talking about a meetup. I mean, this guy, he's got 400 men with him. I bet Jacob's like, oh, he's really, like, God, I'm going to see you today. Like, he's like, I'm done for. Like, I am done for. 400 men are with him. And so, remember the 14 years? So this is where it talks about all of his children. So a lot of things are crazy in this next part. So he says, so he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two female servants. And he put the servants with their children in front, then Leah with her children, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. He himself went on before them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him. Esau embraced him. He fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And then Esau lifted up his eyes and saw the women and children. He said, who are these with you? Jacob said, the children whom God has graciously given your servant. You're talking about a really weird switch up there. Esau went from, I'm going to kill my brother, to I'm going to run towards my brother, to I'm going to give my brother a hug, to I am so upset that I missed all these years with you. They wept. This response that Esau had is kind of confusing when you know where they were to what's going on here. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened in this passage. How did Esau grow this hard heart that he had into a soft heart? And number one, we see that look at what God has done for you. I mean, Esau may have had his birthright gone, had his blessing gone, but look what God did for him. Look what God did for him. Look at all the people with him. He had 400 men with him. I'm telling you, that guy isn't living poor. He's living good. Esau's living a really good life. Look at what God has done for him. As well as when Esau hugged him, he looked at Jacob and he's like, who are these people with you? He's like, look what God has done for you. And I think we can do the same thing in our life, is like, look at what God has done for you. Look at and then you look at the person who maybe you're struggling with, and you're like, look what God has done for you. Look at other people's lives and be like, God showed up there, God showed up there, God showed up there, God showed up when I wasn't feeling so good, God showed up when I was alone. Look where God showed up. Look what God has done for me. And that is what happened with Esau. Number two, we see surrender it. Surrender it to God. We see back in when we read Esau's blessing that he got, it says, you will live by your sword and you will serve your brother. And when you decide to break free, you will shake his yoke from your neck. It's saying, when you decide to let go of this hate for your brother, you will be set free. When you decide to let go of this angry heart of yours, you will be set free. When you decide to forgive that person, you will be set free. God is telling Esau, when you decide to make a step and be like, I'm going to forgive you, I'm going to have a soft heart for you, I'm going to look at what was messed up in my life, what you took away from me, and say, God showed up. And he eventually surrendered it to God. I see like how this is like in our own lives. Of like, are you holding on to something that maybe your shoulders can't bear? Are you holding on to like an anger or a hate that you're just like, I don't know what to do with it because every time I see this person, I feel angry. And you're like, I just want my shoulders to like stop being so tense for them. And that's what happened with Esau. He's like, God, it's yours. I'm done fighting this fight. Surrender it to God. And number 3, embrace those who hurt you. You see, I'm not telling you to hug the people you don't like Esau. That might be a little awkward in some situations. If God is telling you to hug a person, that is great. But I'm not telling you to do that. But I am telling you to run after those who maybe hurt you. What if the person who maybe hurt you and you're gossiping about that person to your friend? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to run after that person. You're going to encourage that person. Maybe every time you see that person, you feel a little hate in your heart. You're going to say, God, I'm praying for them right now. God, I know you love them, and I know my heart is hard for them, but make my heart soft towards them because I do want to encourage them. Instead of ignoring it, like remember that girl that I saw in Walmart that I didn't like? What did I do? I ignored her. I was like, I'm not going to run after her. But instead, Esau, he ran after it. He's like, nope, this is not resolved, so I'm going to run after you. I'm going to embrace you. Unlike me, I ran away from my problems. I said, I'm not going to run after that. And look where that stuck me. Now me and that girl, we still have unresolved. I'm not running after her. Esau is running after it. And that's exactly what we have to do. You see, I want to talk about a guy named Josh to kind of end our night. And this guy named Josh, he kind of lived a life, just a hard life. When he was a kid, he was the only son. I don't know if you're a guy and you have a lot of sisters, but he was the only son. And he had a ton of pressure on him. He had a ton of expectation on him. He grew a little, he didn't grow as fast as everyone else, so he was shorter. And everyone kind of picked on him. He had these off-brand shoes, so he would go to school in these shoes, and everyone would pick on him every single day. They'd pick on him because he was dyslexic, so he was slow at learning, so he didn't learn all the things. People picked on him for that. He would go back home, and his family was like, you're not good enough. Be better. Clean the house. What are you doing? He had so much pressure on him. From going to his house, from going to school. And as a child, his heart was so hard for people. He ended up hating people. He ended up having this angry heart for people. As he grew up, he got a little older, he got a little taller. And this bully that has been picking on him for years, one day they're in line, and he says, what kind of shoes are those? He says, they're from Walmart. Do you have a problem with my Walmart shoes? And the kid's like, yeah, I do. And that day, Josh got so angry, he ends up punching the kid in the face. Punched him right in the face. And that right there is a tell for you. He was holding on to so much anger that it came to physical action. How much anger are you going to hold on to that it's going to lead to physical action? How much anger is in your heart that it leads to circumstances like that? Because this wasn't just from that kid. This was from years ago. What was happening to him at home, what was happening to him at school. He ends up graduating high school still. I mean, he is like physically punching people. Every time a guy gives him a dirty look, he punches him because he's angry. He's angry at the world. He's angry at people. And he ends up having a kid, getting married, and then as a father, he's like, well, maybe we should go to church. Not because he wants to, because he's like, maybe the kid, she needs to grow up and go to church. So he takes his family to church. And one day at church, there was these sign-ups for a Mexico mission trip. And the pastor was like, you should go. He's like, I'm not going. And the pastor's like, you should go. He's like, whatever. So Josh goes on this mission trip. And they go on this mission trip to build a house for a family. So he's like, okay, we're building a house for a family. And when he starts learning about the family situation, seeing their environment, that was the first time he's like, look what God has done for me. Look what I have that I didn't know I had. Look at the blessings that God has given me that I didn't know I was blessed. Look what God has done for me. That was the first time he's ever experienced that. Later on, they have a time of worship. And they're like, are you holding on to anything that maybe you're like, you need to let go of? And Josh definitely was. He had this angry heart that he's like, I need to let go of so much things, of so much hurt, of so much anger. And the first time in his life, he held his hands like this. He's like, God, I'm tired of being quick to angry. I'm tired of being quick to anger. I'm tired of being angry at the world. I'm tired of being angry at people. I'm tired of being angry at my past. I'm tired of being angry at my parents. I'm tired of this, God. I can't handle it. My shoulders, they're hurting too much because I'm so angry. And that was the night where God was like, Josh, I'm taking away your hurt. You surrendered with a posture of like, God, please help me. And look what God did. He helped him. That was the first time in Josh's life where he felt like he had a soft heart for the first time. So guess what? Josh goes back home and he's like, what do I do with a soft heart? He's changed. He's like, I have a soft heart. What do I do with it? He first goes to his family's house. He's like, I forgive my parents. I forgive you for hurting me. I forgive you for putting pressure on me. I forgive you for saying things that were hurtful to me. I forgive you. Later down the road, there's people who approach him and they're like, you did this to me. And he's like, will you forgive me? Will you forgive me for hurting you? Will you forgive me for cussing at you? Will you forgive me for punching you? Will you forgive me? He's like, I'm sorry. And I know this story so well because Josh is my dad. And I have a picture of him because he's just the sweetest man in the world. I love him so much. And he has the most tender heart I could have ever imagined. If you meet him, you would have never thought that he would physically hurt someone. When you meet him, you would have never thought that he would cuss someone out, hurt someone, punch someone. You would have never thought he would hate people. You would have never thought that about him. But that's because God changed his life. That's because God softened his heart. That's because Josh figured out, I can't live a life like this anymore. Do you know how similar these stories are between Esau and Josh? You know, Esau and Josh had very similar stories, very hard hearts. But guess what? Josh and Esau decided not to ignore their problems, but decided to run towards it. Decided to run towards the person they were angry at. They didn't ignore them. No, they ran towards them. They embraced them. They said, this isn't going anywhere. So guess what? God stepped in, so now it is. Guess what? God's going to step in and soften my heart. I may still feel a little angry about it, but guess what? God, you're going to heal me. Guess what? God, you're going to heal my angry heart. Guess what? You're going to step into this person's life, and I'm not going to ignore them anymore, but I'm going to run towards them because, God, you love me. Look at what you've done with me. Look what you've done with my life. So I want us to stand up. I want us to stand up on our feet right now. And I want us to close our eyes. Close your eyes, close your eyes. And I want you to hold your hands out to your side. And I want you to clench your fists, like clench them, like really hard. You're like, ugh. And I want you to think of someone that maybe you have struggled with. That maybe you picture in your mind and you're like, this person makes me angry. Every time I see them, I'm hurt. Every time I see them, I feel angry. I'm tired of feeling this hurt. And tonight, I want you to know that God didn't intend you to carry that weight, that God didn't intend you to carry this anger. And so we're going to go into a worship song. And by the end of the worship song, I'm praying that you can open your hands open-handedly, letting go of that person who hurt you, letting go of that situation that brought you down, letting go of those words that were said to you, letting go of what that person did to you. You're letting that go tonight because God doesn't want you to carry that. No, God wants you to surrender it. God wants you to walk around with a soft heart. God wants you to see the goodness that He put you in. God wants you to see. He doesn't want you to walk around blind anymore. No, He wants you to see. So God, right now, I pray that each of these students, maybe they're going through something, maybe there's that bully at school that just won't stop. Every day it's something. Every day it's a word. Every day it's something that they're getting picked on. It's every day, God, and they're tired, Lord. And I pray that I know they're angry, and you know they're angry, but I pray tonight that, Lord, they will embrace them instead of hating them. That they will encourage them instead of being angry with them. So, Lord, I pray that they can lead into forgiving that person in their hearts that they feel angry about, that they can forgive them. So, Lord, we thank you, we love you, and I know, Lord, you're going to lead students to forgiveness. And it's in your name.